Part 13. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 121. Above the sea, in a sea area called Ite Wall, the Roger pirates are completely unaware of the danger coming. On the deck of the Oro Jackson, watching Bucky and Shanks fight, everyone laughed and cheered for him. Shanks, hit him with your broom. Bucky, don't be cowardly, him. Shouts mixed with laughter echoed around the surroundings, filling the atmosphere with cheerfulness. Roger next to him saw the scene with a smile on his face, only Riley still felt a little sad about the arrival of the Golden Lion before. Captain, it's better for us to be careful, the Golden Lion may really come to our trouble. The anger at the time when the Golden Lion left is still fresh in his memory, and Roger doesn't think he was just talking big. Ha ha ha, if he really wants to come, it won't help us even if we keep worrying, it's better to be happy as a pirate. Roger was naturally remembering this, but as he said, instead of waiting in distress, it is better to have a happy day. As for the time comes, then the soldiers can only block it, and the water will cover it. But alas, not everyone is as open-minded as you, Captain. Riley sighed, he had been feeling like something was going to happen lately. Shaking his head, he walked over to the side of the ship and looked into the distance. In the distance where the sea and the sky are connected, countless small black dots appear densely in front of you. Bring the binoculars. Riley's brow furrowed, and as soon as he stretched out his hand, someone immediately brought the binoculars. Because of Riley's serious words, everyone on the deck also stopped fighting. Something happened, Riley. Roger followed Riley's gaze, his brows slowly furrowed. It's the Sky Pirates. Through the binoculars, you can clearly see the logo of the ship, and Shiki in front of him, his long lion-like hair fluttering in the wind. Full of wildness and domineering. Riley put down his binoculars, his face very solemn. There are probably about 30 ships coming this way, and if that's true, the target should be us. At this moment, the atmosphere on the ship was very solemn. In this battle on the sea, individual force has been compressed to the limit. It's all about boats and ammunition. And now, their Roger pirates are clearly at a disadvantage. 30:1 euro. Not at all on a level. Moreover, there is also the Golden Lion Shiji leading the team, and there are many powerful and capable people under him. From this point of view, the Roger pirates have been completely suppressed. What's next, Captain? All eyes fell on Roger. U-turn. Roger smiled, facing this disproportionate battle, unless he had a hole in his head, he would rise to the challenge. Okay. Immediately, the rudder was turned, and the course of the Oro Jackson changed. No one is embarrassed about running away or anything. They're pirates, so if they can't beat them, they're going to run away. Even in the previous battle with the Navy, their Roger pirates were the one who escaped. After all, the armament of the Navy is incomparable to them. Not everyone has the same powerful special moves as Arthur. No matter how many shells hit, there is no fear. And at the front of the Sky Pirates in the distance, the Golden Lion Shiji stood on the deck and looked ahead. The movements of the Roger pirates are naturally in their eyes. Want to escape? Roger, it's getting late. Shiki said, and then activated the power of the Devil Fruit. Dozens of fleets levitated from the sea and slowly flew into the air, heading towards the Roger pirates. It travels much faster than it does in the sea. Not far from this sea, it looks empty on the surface, but in fact it is the location of the invisible Hyperion. It's just a few minutes after arriving. In the control room, looking at the large screen in front of you, you can see the movements of each ship at a glance. Even Carp, who was rushing over in the distance, could see it clearly. I'm afraid it's impossible to escape from the Sky Pirates. Seeing the scene in front of him, Arthur smiled. With the ability of the Golden Lion, the mobility of the flying pirates is much stronger. and the speed is not comparable to that of the Oro Jackson. Captain, this Roger doesn't seem to be as powerful as you say, and he turned around and ran away when he saw the enemy. Kiana clasped her hands to her chest, dissatisfied with Roger's pirate's escape. He, Kiana, in the face of this situation, Roger would be a fool if he didn't run. Even if the fire network of nearly 30 sailing ships can withstand 1 or 2 waves of attacks, they will not be able to withstand it after a long time. In the end, the ship was wrecked and people died, and the gains outweighed the losses. Oh, is that what it looks like? Kiana nodded as if she didn't understand. But this thought probably lingered in her mind for a while. Even if she encounters the flying pirates alone, she will be crippled if she passes with a big move. And at this time above the sea. I thought that I could perfectly avoid it by turning around in advance, but I didn't expect it to. Captain, the sky pirates are coming around us. It's worthy of the sky pirates, they can really fly into the sky. Seeing the fleet rapidly approaching suspended in mid-air, Shanks tilted his head and his eyes widened. Roger, you can't escape, cooperate with me obediently. Ski's loud voice came from mid-air, and the sky pirates slowly descended and half-surrounded the Oro Jackson. At this time, the Roger pirates have become the turtles of their dreams. Although the power of the Roger pirates is not huge, the Golden Lion is interested in their combat power. The top combat power of the Roger pirates is still very strong, and if the two sides can cooperate, it will be like a tiger with wings. Since you can't escape, you can only face it, and Roger is not the one who is afraid of things. Stand at the front of the deck with your head held high. Shiki, I've already said it before, we have different ways. What's the point of not being a pirate if you can't even do what you love? Pirates symbolize freedom and have always been Roger's philosophy. Looks like there's nothing to talk about. Shiki's eyes narrowed and he waved his hand. This time he came to make Roger submit by force, otherwise he wouldn't have brought so many people. Open fire. At the sound of an order, countless cannonballs from the flying sky pirates that had already been prepared were fired outward. Target, USS Oro Jackson. And at this time, Carp, their warship, was belated. It's already a fight. Carp stood on the deck and looked into the distance, and at this time their navy did not move. In the battle between the two pirate groups, their navy will naturally not interfere. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 122. In an area of the endless sea. A fleet of nearly 30 ships is besieging a pirate ship. The roar of artillery fire was endless. The weaker ones are all hid in the cabin for me. Roger roared, drew the short knife at his waist, surrounded by domineering energy, and swung straight out at the cannonball flying towards them. Brush. A sword aura swept by, and more than a dozen cannonballs exploded in mid-air before they could get close. The rest of the crew was scattered throughout the pirate ship to fend off the shells. Riley kicked the cannonballs back one by one like balls with his bare hands. The rest of the crew also used their skills to prevent the shells from landing on the Oro Jackson. In the distance, the Golden Lion clasped his hands to his chest with a leisurely expression, and the victory and defeat seemed to be doomed at present. Ha 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 ha, Roger, be my right arm. The voice was so arrogant that even the sound of the cannonball could not be concealed. I refuse. Roger's voice was so firm that one could hear that his determination was unshakable. Captain, it's not the way for us to be passive and defensive. As Arthur said at the beginning. In the face of waves of cannonball attacks, the people on the Roger pirate ship were able to block it at first, but after a long time, they would lose it for a long time. When the time comes, that's when you're really in a desperate situation. In that case, let's attack. Roger's gaze swept around, and in order to break through, he had to find the weakest point. Right full rudder, full speed ahead. Okay. The Oro Jackson changed direction again, charging at the weakest point of the siege. Are you still dying? Roger. The Golden Lion's tone was full of disdain, and with a wave of his right hand, the formation changed. Keep rushing. Looking at the changed formation in front of him, Roger shouted, standing at the front of the deck with a sharp gaze. The domineering aura surrounded the short knife that was slowly raised, and the momentum of the whole body gradually condensed at this moment. Captain, why are they rushing at us? Kiana blinked when she saw the sky pirates change formation and approach their side. It's okay, we're invisible, they can't see it. Arthur waved his hand nonchalantly. In the middle of the screen, Roger took the lead, and the short knife in his hand was swung out continuously, cutting the cannonballs that were more and more dense in half. The distance is getting closer and closer, and it looks like it's about to crash into it. Brush. A huge sword aura burst out from Roger's short sword. The sharp sword made the whole sea quiet. The pirates in front of them split in two, and the Oro Jackson also took this opportunity to break out of the encirclement. However, the sword did not dissipate, cut through the sea, continued to rush forward, and when it reached a certain place, it exploded as if it was blocked by something. This made Roger, who was fleeing and couldn't help but take a look, but it was empty, and his brows furrowed and he didn't pay much attention to it. Within Hyperion, Arthur's gaze was gloomy. I didn't expect to just stand far away and watch a play, so I was inexplicably subjected to this. Although Roger's attack couldn't break through Hubelion's defenses, it still felt very uncomfortable. Captain, are you all right? May looked at Arthur's somewhat ugly face and couldn't help but gently stroke his back. It's okay, it's acceptable to pay a little price for watching the show. However, Arthur did not expect that the price paid would be much heavier than he expected. Ha 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 ha, Roger, it's ugly to run away in embarrassment. A ship was destroyed, and the Golden Lion laughed instead. In his eyes, the current Roger is just in a dying throes. All fleets go on the offensive and do not stop. With a wave of the Golden Lion's hand, the Sky Pirates continued to encircle and head towards the Oro Jackson. Cannonballs streaked across the sky, leaving everyone on the Roger Pirates group to be idle. At the same time, Carp in the distance was reporting on the current situation. Now, the Roger Pirates have been completely suppressed by the Flying Pirates. Marshal Kong, what are we going to do? After the report, Carp took the phone bug and waited quietly for a reply from Cyber. Is the Roger Pirates completely suppressed? This is a great opportunity for us. After a while, the sound of a steel skeleton came from the phone bug. Marshal Kong, you won't be thinking about. Carp seemed to have thought of something, and there was a look of surprise in his eyes. That's right, help the Sky Pirates destroy the Roger Pirates in this sea. Compared to the Roger Pirates, the Sky Pirates are more dangerous, but with the current situation, it is much easier to destroy the Roger Pirates. His idea was verified, but Carp was a little hesitant at the moment. They met in the Rocks era, in Roger's pursuit. For Roger himself, Carp still admires him very much. Cheerful personalities, if it weren't for the status of pirates and navies, maybe they would become good friends. What's the matter, Vice Admiral Carp? Do you think it's a breach of naval justice to cooperate with the pirates for the time being? I hadn't heard Carp's answer for a long time, and Skuru's tone was a little stern. No, Marshal Kong, I will carry out your orders. It's not the first time they've cooperated with pirates. When he was able to destroy Locks, Roger also made a lot of efforts. Now that we have to meet in this way, I have mixed feelings. Very well, I await your news of triumph, Lieutenant General Carp. Putting away the phone bug and taking a deep breath, Carp immediately ordered. The whole ship is leaving. The warships in the distance immediately set off and headed towards the Roger Pirates. It's the Navy, there's the Navy ahead. It's terrible to run into the Navy at this time. The faces of everyone on the Roger Pirates changed. The breakthrough did not let them relax, because the Golden Lion behind them has been in hot pursuit. And at this moment, there was a navy approaching head-on. There are wolves in front and tigers in the back, and they Roger pirates are caught in the middle. It's a terrible situation. Open fire. Coming into range, Carp gave the order, and countless shells rained down on the Oro Jackson. Roger, the pressure on them suddenly increased. If it goes on like this, I'm afraid it won't last long at all. Ha ha ha, Roger, it's too late to regret it now, cooperate with me, these navies in front of you are not to be afraid. The Golden Lion ate Roger's tone. If you want not to be destroyed, you can only cooperate with him. Roger didn't answer the Golden Lion's words, and stared straight ahead. Carp. An angry roar came out of his mouth, carrying the momentum of a dead fish and a broken net. Cannonballs flew around the Oro Jackson. However, at this moment, a figure appeared next to Roger's pirates. The heavily armed bunny was suspended in mid-air with Brynja's body, and faint words came out of her mouth. The captain said he would destroy you all. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 123. In the chaotic sea, the sky pirates and warships fired wildly at Roger in the middle. It looks like it's going to be put to death. Shells flew indiscriminately and exploded over the surrounding sea. The waves were splashing and there was chaos. Not far from the Oro Jackson, Hyperion was parked invisibly. It was quite far from the battlefield. As a result, Roger wanted to break through the encirclement, and it happened that he was coming this way. Originally, there was nothing, but at this time, the Navy actually came over to join in the fun. So under the attack from both sides, it was not only Roger's Oro Jackson and Arthur's Hyperion. Inside the bridge of the Hyperion, feeling the slight vibration caused by the shells hitting the shield, the corners of Arthur's mouth twitched unnaturally. Captain, rest assured, such an attack poses no threat to Hyperion. Inside the screen, AI patted her chest very confidently. I'm naturally full of confidence in Hyperion's defenses, but I'm just a little uncomfortable. Shells fell on his head from time to time, which made him happy. Although it is also appropriate to bear a little price for watching the play, this price seems to be a bit heavy. As the sky pirates and warships approached again, the density of shells also increased suddenly. The corners of Arthur's mouth twitched from time to time. His patience was also reaching its limit. Captain, do you want Rita to clean up the mess outside? Rita, who saw Arthur's impatience, made a suggestion. When it comes to fighting, Miss Ben is naturally not far behind. Kiana thumped her chest. Kiana, don't shoot, it's my loss if it's gone. What, Captain, you're so annoying. After teasing Kiana, Arthur sighed. But now I really don't have the mood to continue watching the show. If you are quiet on the side, sipping melon seeds and drinking a drink, no matter how the situation changes, it is still worth taking a look. But now, he was innocent, and the cannonballs hit his head. Bronia, I'll leave these people to you, let me see the power of the lawgiver of reason. Arthur turned to look at Brynja next to him, patted her on the shoulder and said, Okay, Captain, Brynja received. Brynja nodded, turned, and walked towards the hatch. Step by step, the pale blue brilliance of the whole body flashed. When I stood at the hatch, I had already finished transforming my form Euro. The lawgiver of reason. The hatch opened, and the heavily loaded bunny appeared behind him, taking Brynja's body into the sky. Hugh Bryan was invisible, and people outside naturally couldn't see it, but Brynja didn't. On the sea, in the face of the siege of cannonballs from the front and back, Roger and his party were also struggling to support. Now that we are completely surrounded, we must find a way to break through as soon as possible. Just as Roger's brain was racing how to break through the encirclement, a figure rose up from beside him. The sudden change not only stunned Roger for a moment, but even Carp and the Golden Lion were a little surprised. Looking at the figure suspended in mid-air, Carp frowned. This guy seems to be of the Arthur pirates. Halfway through that, my pupil slowly widened. Could it be that the Arthur pirates are also around here? His eyes quickly swept around, and there were no other ships other than them. This made Carp breathe a sigh of relief. For the Arthur pirates, Carp has always adhered to a respectful attitude. It's too scary to want any contact with it. Arthur's pirates, is he here too? Seeing the figure suspended in mid-air, the Golden Lion's eyes widened. All the new and old hatreds in my heart have emerged. The sharp gaze swept around but found nothing, and finally settled on Brynja. As long as I catch you, I don't believe that Arthur won't come out. Don't think that there is no way to take you in mid-air. As he spoke, the Golden Lion immediately activated the power of the Devil Fruit, and the sailboat under his feet slowly levitated. In the sky, Brynja looked down like a god from above. Facing the Golden Lion, who was coming at great speed and still had a rampant smile on his face, he slowly stretched out his right hand. Mimic the Star of Eden. Gravitational rays. Faint words came out of Brynja's mouth, and in the white and delicate palm, the black energy gradually expanded. What is this? The closer he got, a touch of uneasiness suddenly appeared in the Golden Lion's heart. Whoosh! Brynja's palm stretched out, and dozens of gravitational rays spread outward. The goal is the Golden Lion. Not good. The gravitational ray has not yet approached, but the space has changed, and the Golden Lion's face changed when he saw this scene, and he hurriedly dodged. The Golden Lion dodged, but the boat beneath his feet suffered. Instantly shattered by the penetration of gravitational rays. The Golden Lion descended from the sky and landed on top of another sailboat, looking up at the scene with a hint of shock in his eyes. Several gravitational rays had passed him before, and that feeling made him still feel uneasy. The captain said that he would destroy you all here. Without the slightest emotion, words came out of Brynja's mouth, and there was no pause at random, and her arms were slightly open. Behind him, floating warships came out of nothing. In an instant, the entire sky was densely covered, shrouding the area in shadow. After fully understanding the explanation of a thing, it is possible to reproduce it again in its own power, so it is called the lawgiver of reason. Whether it's an automatic rifle, a giant battleship, or anything else, anything that knows how its mechanics are made and how it works can be reproduced out of thin air. And as long as something has been copied, it will form muscle memory, and the body will remember its blueprint, so that it can be better replicated next time. For this kind of ordinary battleship, Brynja can be constructed in an instant. What kind of monster is this? Carp looked up to see the black holes of the guns. He did not think that the muzzles were for decorative purposes. Under the shroud of these floating battleships, the huge crisis made Carp's hairs stand on end. Don't think you're trying to beat me by making something weird. The Golden Lion on the ship looked above and roared, holding a famous knife. I'm the Golden Lion. Brush. Two sword chi that spanned the heavens and the earth burst out upward. The power that emanates from the sword chi is irresistible even for a floating battleship. Brynja naturally understands this. So the Golden Lion will definitely not be allowed to destroy these floating battleships. Mimic the Star of Eden. Energy shield. A diamond-shaped red shield stood in front of him, and the two slash attacks on it could not be shaken in the slightest. How is that possible? The Golden Lion's gaze was full of disbelief. His two slashes were enough to pierce an island, and there was nothing he could do with the thin shield in front of him. But the reality is no longer the Golden Lion's surprise. The countless energies of the guns of the floating battleships above converged, flashing like stars in the sky. It's nothing more than a destructive star. Rumble. Dazzling pillars of light descended from the sky, enveloping the entire area. The sun in the sky lost its color at this moment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 124. 2 days ago, news that shocked the sea spread quickly. The Sky Pirates led by the Golden Lion fought the Roger Pirates in the waters of Ite Wall. The Navy is also involved. However, the battle was ended by one man. Brynjazija Ek. A member of this Arthur Pirates. One person comprehensively suppresses the tripartite forces. In the short battle with the Golden Lion Shiji, he did not fall behind, and he didn't know what kind of ability he used to build countless warships out of thin air. Suppress with absolute firepower, so that the three forces are completely defeated. After that, he disappeared. Such news spread like the wind throughout the sea. Let everyone recognize the horror of the Arthur Pirates. If one of them has such great power, what about the others? For a while, the discussion of the Arthur Pirates remained high. But the object of such attention disappeared from everyone's sight out of thin air. Even if someone tried to look for it, they couldn't find a clue. Inside the Navy headquarters. As soon as Karp returned, he was summoned to an impromptu emergency meeting. Lieutenant General Karp, is it really as rumored, one person from the Arthur Pirates has suppressed all three of you? There was something strange in Steelbone's tone. If it is said that it is all members of the Arthur Pirates, if such a thing happens, maybe praise their strength. And yet just one person. No matter how strong it is, there should be a limit. It's Karp, the Golden Lion and Roger, three of the most famous characters on the sea. Everyone was looking at Karp, and only this person who experienced it had a real say. If I heard such news suddenly, I couldn't believe it. Karp sat there, head bowed, and his voice heavy. The tattered military uniform on his body brought him a desolate aura. Everything is as it is rumored, just one person, we are completely powerless. With absolute fire suppression, we don't even have the slightest room to resist. Perhaps only our Navy's demon-slaying order can compare to it. When he thought of the scene, Karp felt nothing but deep despair. Seeing Brynja appear, Karp always felt like Arthur didn't know where to stare at him. So I prepared early. When the floating battleship emerged above, it had already made the warship retreat. In any case, under the shroud of so many muzzles, it is always unsettling. And what happened next proved how right Karp's decision was. Countless pillars of light fell from the sky, each with the power to penetrate the warship. Karp, who uses the color of his armament to fend off, is well aware of the power of each attack. Fortunately, he let the warship retreat in advance, and the losses were not very large, so he left the range of attack. The worst is still the Sky Pirates. With the fragility of the sailboat, how can it withstand the attack of these pillars of light? Sailboats were reduced to pieces by the attack of the pillars of light, becoming the debris of the sea. And that's just a glimpse of what Karp saw. As for Roger's Oro Jackson, under the shroud of the pillar of light, Karp did not see it. But it must be more than lucky. What do you say, the Navy's demon-slaying order can fight against it? By the power of just one person. Hearing Karp's words, the people around him couldn't help but gasp. What is the scale of the Demon Slayer order? 5 lieutenant generals add 10 rear admirals and nearly 10,000 naval elites add 10 top warships. There is a world of difference between warships and warships. The warships are the strongest and most aggressive in the Navy, and they are all built by the Imperial Shipyard Seven Waters Capital, and their quality is unquestionable. If a warship is just a bungalow, then a warship is a high-rise building. That's the gap between them. However, now Karp says that a person's money is comparable to that of the Demon Slayer order. Yes. In the face of everyone's disbelief, Karp nodded very seriously. As brutal as the truth is, that's the reality. As soon as the words fell, the entire conference room fell silent. It's scary. After a long time, the yellow ape slowly spat out a sentence from his mouth. In the face of such an enemy, it is impossible to take it easy. All right, thank you, Lieutenant General Karp. Let's go down and rest first, and I'll report this to the world government. After this meeting, the top brass of the Navy became more cautious about the Arthur pirates. It also made the red dog, the yellow ape, and the green pheasant feel a lot of pressure. Based on their current record and strength, they will soon be awarded the rank of Vice Admiral. When the time comes, he will go one step further and become a general, and he will face the Arthur pirates. The three of them left the conference room and looked at each other, but they didn't say anything to each other and left. At the same time, in another part of the ocean, a sailboat moves forward, and the pirate flag fluttering above proves their identity. The flying pirates. An angry roar emanated from the deck. Arthur, I am at odds with you. Shiki stood on the deck like an angry lion, his red gaze scribbling at each other. Let the surrounding crew members be scared away. This time, all the elites brought by the encirclement and suppression of Roger were all elites, but they were all in vain in an instant. Only such a pirate ship survived with all his might. All the others perished at the bottom of the sea. Damn, damn. The aura of anger surrounded him, and the long hair of the golden lion was windless and automatic. I'll get revenge on you, Arthur. But then there was a sigh of decadence. Gather some crew members before you get revenge. On another small island, dozens of people lay on the beach, looking like they had survived the catastrophe. Finally landed safely. What kind of attack is that? It's too foul. When I met the Arthur pirates, I decided to take a detour. Words of rejoicing came out of their mouths. It's horrible, is this the Arthur pirates? Shanks still had a hint of fear on his face. The white light that flashed in front of the pillars of light in front of him is still fresh in my memory. I'm afraid we're going to have to live on this island for a while. Roger stood up from the ground and looked at the Oro Jackson to the side. At this time, the hull of the Oro Jackson was full of holes, and if it weren't for Master Tom's excellent shipbuilding skills, I am afraid it would have fallen apart long ago. Anyway, everyone is fine. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 125. Since the Battle of Eitwall, the sea has once again returned to calm. The outcome of this battle was so influential that all forces were moved by it. Not just pirates, but also navies, or world governments. All of them quietly took action. It's just that it's all silent, and you won't notice it from the outside. The Golden Lion's flying pirates are destroyed, and Roger disappears from everyone's sight because he needs to repair the ship. This made Karp also rare and relaxed, and stayed at the Navy headquarters for the time being. But no one has forgotten that a potential threat. Arthur's pirates. Such a force makes everyone feel like they are in their throats. Even the world government has to pay attention. Begin careful investigation and research. But in the end, it must be useless. And the object of everyone's attention, Arthur is lying leisurely on the sofa at the moment, holding a gamepad in his hand. Next to her, Kiana stared intently at the screen in front of her. Hit him, hit him, hit him, amplify the moves. The movements in the hands are non-stop, and the mouth is not idle. Arthur and Kiana are now playing a versus game, similar to the King of Fighters. Oops, lost again. A punch was knocked out by Arthur, and Kiana sighed and fell on the couch with her head up. How about Kiana? I said you can't do it, I still don't believe it, and I can't accept it now. Arthur took the peeled orange next to Mei and threw it into his mouth, looking proudly at Kiana, who was a little loveless. Humph, it's obvious that the characters in it are not obedient at all, and they always move slowly and half a beat, if you let Miss Ben take action herself. Kiana bounced up instantly, pouting, and looked at Arthur with an unhappy expression. Do it with me personally, you can't drop it either. Arthur stretched out his index finger and shook it gently, and his contemptuous attitude made Kiana instantly furious. Ship. Long. His eyes narrowed, and he suddenly pounced on it with his teeth and claws. Leaping forward, a hungry wolf pounced and crushed Arthur underneath him. He, Captain, I've got you. Kiana smiled, very proud. No, I grabbed you. A smile slowly appeared on Arthur's lips. Kiana was slightly stunned when she heard this, and before she could react, the world suddenly swirled. The positions of the two were immediately reversed. How's it going? Who's catching whom? Looking at Kiana, Arthur suddenly showed a demonic smile. Captain, what are you going to do? Seeing Arthur's smile, Kiana suddenly had a bad premonition. What do you say I'm going to do? Naturally, I'm punishing you, dare to do something to the captain, be conscious. As he spoke, Arthur's hand slowly moved to Kiana's waist and began to scratch. Ah, ha ha ha, it's so itchy, Captain, don't scratch it anymore. Kiana suddenly rolled back and forth on the couch, writhing like an earthworm in an attempt to escape Arthur's clutches. But how can you avoid such a small place? Ha ha ha, no, Captain, tears are coming out, please let me go, ha ha ha. Seeing that she couldn't hide, Kiana immediately pleaded. Do you know it's wrong now? Ha ha ha, yes, Kiana knows it's wrong, stop it, ha ha ha. Although she didn't know what she was doing wrong, Kiana nodded again and again. That's pretty much it? Arthur stopped in satisfaction and got up from the couch. Will you? Kiana, who was out of breath with the smile, panted heavily. Because of the constant smile, the lack of oxygen makes the cheeks rosy, and the delicate appearance is very cute. After a while, finally relieved, Kiana looked at Arthur viciously. Captain, you bully me like that. As she spoke, Kiana was going to turn over as a slave and sing and get up from the oppression. But as soon as he stood up, he saw Arthur raise his hands and slowly dance his fingers, and he was frightened and retreated. The captain bullied me, you have to help me take revenge. Hurriedly ran to Mei Yi's side for comfort. All right Kiana, let's have an orange. Looking at Kiana with an aggrieved face, Mei Yi put the freshly peeled orange to Kiana's mouth. This orange is mine. Arthur on the side immediately protested dissatisfied. It's Miss Ben's now. Kiana said as she took half of the orange in her mouth and nodded demonstratively to Arthur. If you have the ability to come and rob it, Captain, if you don't come, I'll eat it all. The arrogance between the words is really unbearable. Look at me taking them all. Arthur exploded his speed to the extreme at this moment, and as if teleporting, he instantly appeared in front of Kiana. Bite the other half of the orange into your mouth. Kiana's eyes widened instantly, she didn't expect Arthur's speed to be so fast. After such a stunned effort, some of the oranges have been taken back. How could Kiana, who was so strong, admit defeat and immediately launched a counterattack? The two of you come and go, fighting with each other, so that Mei Yi on the side is really speechless. After fighting each other for several minutes, no one could help anyone, and finally the curtain ended with half of the people. Whew, I'm so tired. Arthur and Kiana both sat on the couch. Kiana, I didn't expect your mouth to be so powerful. Arthur stared at Kiana's mouth slowly chewing on an orange with a twinkle in his eyes. Now I know how powerful Miss Ben is. Hearing Arthur praise herself, Kiana took it without saying a word. Then he sensed that something was wrong, and looked at Arthur slightly. Captain, you didn't have any bad ideas just now, did you? How could it be? You think too much about Kiana. Arthur was slightly stunned and said quickly. I didn't expect Kiana to be so sharp now. Could it be that he is acting too obviously? Really? Kiana's eyes were full of suspicion. Nature is true, don't overthink it. Arthur nodded affirmatively. It's time to eat. Just when Kiana was still suspicious of Arthur, Rita's voice came. Kiana, who was still sitting on the sofa just now, ran over in an instant, which made Arthur breathe a sigh of relief. Let's go have a meal first. On the other side, under Mei Yi's see-through gaze, Arthur stood up in a daze. Night falls, inside Arthur's bedroom. Captain, you don't have to be so gentle. Brynja's quiet voice came from the side. Brynja knew that the captain was afraid of hurting Brynja, so he couldn't have fun every time. But, no problem, Brynja can live with it, it's much better than it was at the beginning. Looking at Arthur next to her, Brynja gently hugged him. It's okay, Brynja, that's fine. Arthur reached out and brushed Brynja's hair, very gently. Captain. Brynja hugged Arthur's shoulders a little tighter. Let's have a raffle before you go to bed. After the accumulation of this time, it is already possible to perform a 10 beat again. Anyway, soon, Arthur casually swiped open the system interface and clicked on the 10 link. Clusters of light flashed in front of him, and the objects that appeared made Arthur stunned. Character card, Seal Floy. Surprises always come quietly. I thought it would take 3 or 4 times before a new Valkyrie came, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Open the Valkyrie warehouse, and the bigger surprise is yet to come. Seal Floy or S-Class. That's right, as soon as it appears, it's an S-Class. Although the current character fragments are no longer enough to stop at SS rank, they have already made Arthur happy. Isn't this the right time? After checking the properties interface, click the battle button. At the bedside, the blue light like the sea converged and condensed into a human figure. The light becomes more and more dazzling, and only gradually dissipates after reaching the extreme. A pretty figure stood in front of Arthur. Snow-white skin, short black and blue shoulder-length hair, and red stigmata on the chest. He wears a white shirt with a blue waistcoat, a short dark blue and light blue skirt, and stockings with blue stripes. The slightly closed eyes slowly opened, revealing a sea-like pupil. Oh my God, Sister Brynja, Captain, you. Just opened his eyes and saw the scene in front of him, which made 11ER startled. Seal. Brynja got up and walked over to Chael. Let's work together to serve the captain in the future. It's getting late, let's go to bed first. Shocked and dazed, Seal was pulled over by Brynja. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 126. The sky has turned white in the distance, bringing tranquility to the sea. Somewhere in the slow-moving Hyperion, a slight sound echoed. Puff. 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 The rapid heartbeat is like a drum. Seal lay quietly on the bed, clasped hands in front of her chest. In his eyes, which are as blue as the sea, there is still a dullness that he has not yet reacted. The little head is full of doubts. Why did she have to lie down here and rest? The sound that came from time to time in her ears made her whole body feel like an ant crawling. I still remember being dragged by Sister Brynja. It seems like before. An indescribable picture appeared in Seal's brain. Let 11ER clasp her hands tightly, and her heart beat faster and faster. It's really useless, you. A contemptuous voice rang in Seal's head. Seal's personality. 11ER has a dual personality, showing a kind, simple personality, afraid of violence, emotional, low-tier spots, weak but stubborn. Lee's personality is sick, frenzied, and violent. Completely opposite personalities are integrated into one person. Because, this kind of thing, I was actually seen by 11ER. Seal said as she put her hands on her cheeks, as if she was afraid to face reality. Cut, what is this? I just saw it, and I didn't do anything to you. I'm so shy now, I'm really worried about you in the future. The voice in my head chattered, and I looked like I was sighing. We've been together all the time, why do you seem to understand it very well? I haven't experienced it again. Listening to the voice in her head, Cier couldn't help but ask. The personality was born in her mind, and what they saw and heard was naturally exactly the same. But now it seems that Lee's personality seems to understand very well, which makes 11ER a little puzzled. Verbose. Lee personality suddenly shouted and startled 11ER. Yes, I'm sorry. Apologizing seems to have become instinctive, Seal said quickly. Humph, forgive you. A faint sentence came out of her head and made Seal breathe a sigh of relief. Is that him? Our captain? A reddish aura wafted out of Seal's body, condensing into a person who was exactly the same as Seal's beside her. There are just a few subtle differences. The clothes and pupils on his body turned red. Seal jumped to Arthur's side. Arthur was still sleeping with his eyes closed. Seal crouched beside her, watching quietly with her right hand on her cheek. Raising his left hand, he stretched out his index finger and slowly approached the tip of Arthur's nose. Don't make a fuss, it's not good to wake up the captain. Seeing Lee's movements, Cier hurriedly got up to stop it. Kneel on the bed and stretch your right hand forward to stop the movement of the inner personality. However, the personality on the side suddenly showed an expression of successful conspiracy. Reaching out and gently pulling on Seal's palm. 11ER, who was originally a little difficult to maintain balance, immediately threw forward with an unstable center of gravity at this moment. Oops, hey. A slight cry came out of her mouth, and her hands waved wildly, trying to let the person in front of her help her stabilize her body. However, in 11ER's gaze, only the corners of Lee's mouth were seen, and the smile became more and more intense. Then it dissipated in front of him. Next second. Boom. A dull crash was accompanied by cries of pain. The picture is directly frozen at this moment. Click. The door opened softly, and Rita walked in. Just take a step and stop in an instant. I'm sorry, Captain, Rita interrupted. It's just that today's breakfast can only be eaten when it's hot, I hope you can hurry up, Captain. Rita nodded slightly, closed the door, and turned to leave. Looks like we're going to have to add another piece of chopsticks. When I went downstairs, the mumble echoed softly around me. There wasn't much surprise in the tone. And inside the room, the two pairs of eyes stared at each other with wide eyes. After a while, it's a good feeling, but it's time to wake up. The faint sound made 11ER wake up in an instant, and jumped down like an electric shock. Yes, I'm sorry, Captain. 11ER, who was standing next to her, apologized again and again, and the person in her mind shook her head again and again. What a great opportunity, it was just wrong. It's okay, don't blame yourself. Arthur shook his head, signaling that Seal didn't have to care. 11ER, didn't you sleep all night last night? Look at you've got dark circles under your eyes. Brynja stood up without hesitation, took a stride in front of Cier, and raised her hand to gently brush the faint dark circles under her eyes. Sister Brynja, your clothes? Seal lowered her head and gently nudged Brynja. It's okay, 11ER. Brynja said, turning her head to look at Arthur. Captain, can you have Brynja dress you this morning? I don't care if you want. Arthur nodded. Then please, Captain, stand up. Seal, you're here to help, too. The whole process, Seal is like a marionette wandering through the world, completely unaware of what she is doing. When I felt the hotter and hotter temperature in my palm, my confused vision regained my consciousness. When I saw the scene in front of me, my pupils slowly dilated. fainted. Alas, it's really embarrassing, I really fainted. In the end, the personality in his mind sighed helplessly. Half an hour later, the three of them arrived in the living room. Everyone gave each other a brief introduction, took a seat, and started enjoying a delicious breakfast. It's delicious. Seal's gaze shone brightly. If you like to eat, you can eat more, and if you don't have enough, you can make more. Rita smiled and whispered. No, that's enough. Seal shook her head and looked at the food in front of her, the tension from what had happened in the morning gradually dissipating. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 127. Somewhere on the sea. There is an unknown island here. The inaccessible island won't attract anyone's attention until one day. The arrival of a pirate ship. Captain, look, the buildings on the island ahead are very wrong. One of the pirates on the lookout looked somewhere, as if he had seen something incredible, his eyes widening. What's all the fuss about? Seeing a ghostly look on his men's face, the captain took the binoculars and looked at them. As far as the eye can see, the high-rise buildings on the island are like exquisite works of art, sparkling in the sunlight. Oh my God, what kind of building is this? After a long time on the sea, no country's architecture can match it. Quickly turn around and drive the boat over. Discovering such a wonderful place, the wealth on it may be amazing. There was a greedy look in the captain's eyes. The pirate ship immediately changed direction and headed for the island. As the distance got closer, through the telescope, the scenes on the island came into view. Aside from being amazed, these pirates don't know how to describe it. Even if all of them were elated, intending to stay close to the time of landing. A voice came from the island. Please stay away from the sea area immediately, and if you approach again, you will bear the consequences. The crisp and loud voice was transmitted mightily, but it didn't make the pirate ship hesitate. Ha ha ha, you can't see anyone, do you want to use such a means to let us go? Everyone didn't care, and finally crossed the critical point set. The sound of warning came to an abrupt end. At the edge of the harbor, a flat piece of land lifted upwards, revealing a laser cannon hidden underneath. Rumble. A thick beam of laser light streaked across the sky, hitting the ship. Boom. The pirate ship was shattered by this blow and turned into dust on the sea. The laser cannons on the island sank again, and everything returned to calm as if nothing had happened. However, such calm days only lasted for a while. A caravan passed by in the distance and rediscovered the island. And so, the same thing happened again. It's just that unlike the previous pirate ship, this time, only half of the ships entered the cordon. Therefore, the caravan ships in the rear saw laser beams emanating from the island, destroying the ships that were close at hand. Everyone stared at the scene with wide eyes. It took a long time to react. Looking at the island in the distance, the beautiful appearance looks like a demon disguise. This matter gradually spread on the sea and attracted the attention of many people. So pirates and caravans came from afar, wanting to see if the island was as rumored. After the first few who were not afraid of death, at the cost of their own lives. Everyone also knew how far the island would attack. The powerful firepower did not make anyone feel intimidated, but the eyes were full of blazing heat. They see great value. If nothing else, if you can get the weapons on the island, it will be enough for some pirate groups to run rampant on the sea. Driven by desire, many people have a much less fear of death. Day by day, from time to time someone wants to challenge the bottom line. I want to be the one who can go to that island. But without exception. Whether it's a devil fruit ability who can fly to the sky, or a pirate who drives a sturdy battleship. As soon as you cross the cordon, you will be immediately torn to shreds under countless shells. Blow after blow, the blindfolded person gradually regained consciousness. But it's a little reluctant to leave like this. So they all gathered around. As time passed, there were more and more ships around. There are people of all forces. Such a big movement also attracted the attention of the Navy. After the Battle of Ait Wall, calm was restored to the seas, and the Navy was rarely at ease. Cyborg sat in his office and dug up all the information he had accumulated before. Strange islands, powerful weapons. Look at the folder in your hand. No matter how strange the island was, Cyborg didn't care, but the powerful weapon did touch his nerves. If such a powerful weapon were to be acquired by the pirates, it would inevitably pose a threat to their navy. And it was at this time that an urgent document was delivered to him. The sender of this document was Vegapunk. Vegapunk discovered the life blueprint, was arrested by the world government, and disbanded his original research team. This is just the news that is circulating outside. In fact, Vegapunk has been working for the world government. Now he is the #1 scientist in the Navy headquarters. Open the document sent by Vegapunk, which clearly records the power of the weapons on the island. That's a power that far surpasses the technological level of this world. And that's just a superficial discovery. If we can master that small island, we will surely make the strength of the Navy headquarters even stronger. Seeing this, the idea that made Steel Bone Sara a little moved immediately became firm. It's just, who will go this time? Cyborg thought for a moment, and immediately decided on his goal. Such a task is especially suitable for one person. 2 hours later, a warship departed from the headquarters of the Navy. On the deck of the warship, the Yellow Ape sighed deeply. Alas, it's my turn to be troublesome again. The Yellow Ape is also clear about the rumors on that small island. So far, no one has been able to land on the island. It can be seen that its danger is not ordinary. I hope I can complete the task as soon as possible. The marshals have given orders, and no matter how reluctant the Yellow Ape is, it must be carried out. Time passed silently. At the edge of the island, among the numerous ships, Hyperion had slipped in without attracting anyone's attention. What's going on? Why are so many people gathered around our door? After taking a turn outside, Arthur finally remembered the base he had set up at the time. Well, Captain Chief, I'm sorry AI-chan forgot to tell you. Then a picture with AI's commentary makes Arthur quickly understand what happened while he was away. These people don't think there's any treasure on this island, do they? What you can't get is the best. This sentence is really not wrong at all. Captain, do you need AI-chan to clean them all up? If you want to clean up all the ships around you, AI can do it easily. Even when Arthur was about to say yes, a warship sailed into his eyes and made him change his mind. Wait a minute, there's a good show. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 128. Is that the island in front of you, the legendary island? The Yellow Ape stood on the deck, holding a telescope in his hand, with an impatient expression on his face. There are a lot of people. His eyes swept around him, and the warship appeared in everyone's sight in such a grand manner. It's the Navy, and they're here too. The one standing on the deck is Lieutenant General Polusolino. That's right, the current Yellow Ape, Red Emu, and Green Pheasant have been promoted to lieutenant generals. Although the speed of promotion was fast, no one was unconvinced. Their great strength gives them great prestige in the Navy. Even Vice Admiral Polusolino came, and this time the Navy seemed to be inevitable. Yellow Ape, a natural sparkling fruit ability. It can turn any part of its body into light, and has the speed of light, and can attack and move at the speed of light. In layman's terms, it is to run fast. This is also the reason why Steel Bone Kong chose to let the Yellow Ape come. The island's condition is unknown, and the Yellow Ape's speed allows him to deal with any unexpected situation. The surrounding chatter did not move the look on the Yellow Ape's face in the slightest, standing on the deck, wearing the costume of a vice admiral, and the cloak of justice behind him hunting. Tall figure, if you ignore his somewhat obscene face, it really feels a little tall and mighty. Where the warship passed, the surrounding ships avoided one after another, and some pirate ships quietly stayed away. If the yellow ape sees them and destroys them, it is a tragedy. And in the Hugh Lion, which was in the ship, looked at the warship in front of him. "I been promoted to Lieutenant General so quickly." Slightly surprised, he said to AI. "AI-chan, this man's speed is super fast, can our defense network resist him landing on that island?" Arthur was still a little worried about this. After all, the power of the sparkling fruit is not covered. "Hee, Captain, don't worry, the devil fruit's characteristics AI-chan has mastered. Although ordinary bullets can't do damage to those with natural devil fruit abilities, fear of seawater is already their biggest weakness. AI is also the first time to face a natural devil fruit ability." Although he said that he didn't care, he was already serious. The captain is still watching here, and he can't be ashamed. "I have some halostone bullets here, you can use them. Just in case, Arthur buys some bullets from the store." After all, he was facing a natural devil fruit ability, and Arthur didn't want AI to suffer. Arthur said, with a wave of his right hand. More than a dozen boxes of halostone bullets appeared next to him, and there were several missiles made of halostone. "It's a small thing, but it's expensive." "Wow, thank you, Captain, there's no need to be afraid at all." Seeing these bullets, AI instantly jumped up excitedly. "But these bullets?" The little face wrinkled at these bullets. "I have to send these to the island." "Hee, don't worry, I'll help you solve it." Arthur naturally understood the difficulty of AI, and stretched out his index finger to draw a circle in the void. A small black hole emerges, and Arthur throws all of these things into it. At the same time, inside the island, the same small black hole emerged. One by one, the boxes fell out of the black hole. The Titan mechs patrolling not far away immediately sprang into action and moved the missiles to the port one after another. Everything is carried out in an orderly manner under the command of AI. And above the sea, everyone's eyes moved with the movement of the warship. "Look, it's almost time for the cordon." Everyone watched nervously. "So far, the cordon that no one can cross, can the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters break it?" The slowly moving warship stopped, and one step ahead was the range of the cordon. "Wait for me here and come back soon." The yellow ape said indifferently, his body elementalized, turned into a beam of light, and rushed towards the sea opposite. The speed is so fast that 1/5 of the distance has been crossed in the blink of an eye. As a vice admiral, you can definitely land on the island at this time. Naturally, the devil fruit ability is really powerful. The onlookers were extremely excited, as if they were the ones who were about to land on the island. "It's easy. Oh, is the attack coming?" The body of the yellow ape galloped rapidly, looking at the oncoming radium rays, without the slightest dodge, and just met it straight. Puff puff. The radium rays passed through the elementalized body, causing no damage to the yellow ape's body. "Now it's 9 out of 10, it's naturally a devil fruit, and I really want to get one." Seeing that their fearful attack did not work for the yellow ape, many people's eyes showed a look of envy. "Hee, it's time for dinner." AI smiled, and the bullets filled with halostone immediately poured out. These bullets do not have bright beams and are even mediocre. But when the yellow ape saw it, his eyes instantly widened. A bullet made from a sea-building stone. To accomplish this, it requires ultra-high craftsmanship, and even their naval headquarters does not have much. However, what is the matter with these dense seafloor stone bullets that are like rain now? Oops. At this time, you must not be shot by halostone's bullets. Once shot, the elementalization will be lifted, and when the time comes, it will fall into the sea, and that will be the real end. 8 mirrors. A mirror-like light accumulates in his hand and shines on the sea. The upward reflection of the light allowed him to complete the teleportation, narrowly avoiding the baptism of this wave of barrage. However, before the yellow ape could breathe a sigh of relief, the two oncoming missiles frightened him. Ordinary missiles are nothing, the key is that these materials are also sea-floor stones. What kind of person can make a missile out of such a solid sea-building stone? Such a thought flashed through my mind, and the two oncoming missiles had exploded. Countless missile fragments scattered outwards like scattered flowers. Up and down, left and right, so that the yellow ape didn't even have a place to hide. Rumble. A dazzling light envelopes the entire sea. Lieutenant General Polisalino. Seeing this scene, those navies hurriedly shouted. But the winds from the explosion prevented them from moving forward. The cheers of love and joy were heard from within Hugh Bryan. Yes. It's Ai-chan's victory. A few minutes later, calm returned to the sea, and the yellow ape's figure had disappeared. At this moment, a ship without any sign slowly passed the cordon. Chapter 126 is banned and under review. If you cannot raise books, try not to raise them, and if you are banned, you will definitely not be original. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 129. In a sea of water, the wind of the explosion raged, causing the sailing ships not far away to shake violently. Thankfully, the wind was only temporary, and it only took a few seconds to blow, but it also made the ship much more messy. Such a powerful explosive force, even if the Vice Admiral faces such a powerful blow, it is impossible to retreat with his whole body. No kidding, that's Vice Admiral, a natural devil fruit ability. What is this explosion? If it's an ordinary explosion, it's naturally fine, the key is the shrapnel that scatters out, and it's made of halustone. Among the many ship's onlookers, there are naturally well-informed. A faint sentence has already made everyone's faces change greatly. Halustone is a rare ore that only exists in a certain sea area, which is equivalent to the crystallization of the sea. The composition is similar to that of the sea, and it can be said that it is a solid form of the sea, so those with devil fruit abilities are not only afraid of the sea, but also afraid of the sea stone. Moreover, halustone is as hard as diamond, and ordinary means cannot destroy it. It is a weapon specially used to restrain the powerful. Lieutenant General Polisalino. After the explosion, no trace of the yellow ape was found, and the navy on the warship shouted loudly, and its eyes searched around. There, Lieutenant General Polisalino. Suddenly, a navy officer pointed to the sea in the distance. Through the still turbulent sea, a vague figure can be seen gradually sinking. Lieutenant General Polisalino. All the navies exclaimed, in this sea, the capable ones were completely unable to exert their strength. But they were far away, and I am afraid that they would be torn to pieces by the attack from the opposite island before they could pass. They were not arrogant enough to challenge the distance that Lieutenant General Polisalino could not cross. Even when all the navy looked desperate and didn't know what to do, a ship without any signs sailed out. Without any hesitation, he crossed the cordon without any scruples. Who is this, so eager to go to death? What kind of ship is this? Why is there no one on it? At a distance that even a vice admiral can't cross, there are still people who want to be in the limelight. Seeing the shadow of Hubilian's ship, there were voices of doubt and doubt around the crowd. However, everyone's impression of the shells flying around did not appear, and everything was so calm, as if nothing had happened before. How so? Is the other side running out of shells? They glanced at each other with the people next to them, and there was disbelief in their eyes. Just then, the second ship moved. It was a warship parked at the edge of the cordon. The yellow ape fell into the sea, they had to be rescued, and now that there are even more people taking the lead, how can they hesitate? All the navies moved their warships with the determination to die, and the moment they crossed the cordon, their hearts rose to their throats. However, after a few seconds, the whole sea was still calm. This scene made everyone around him go crazy. The shells on the island are running out, let's rush together. Like a blowing horn, all the ships moved at this moment. Rushing towards the island, lest they be one step too late, and soon many ships crossed the Hyperion. What do you see on the island? At the edge of the island, 3 rows of Titan mechs stood tall, reflecting the icy glow in the sunlight. Whoosh! When a ship approached the island, all the Titans immediately attacked. One shell after another slashed through, completely drowning the terrified faces of everyone on deck. Rumble! The whole sea was silent, except for the roar of the explosion. Looking at the Titan mechs standing on the edge of the island, many people couldn't help but swallow their saliva, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Many of these people were traders and pirates who were not particularly powerful. The shells were still quite deterrent to them. Coupled with the picture of the vice admiral being shot down before, no one dared to act rashly. The originally high-spirited ship seemed to have been pressed the pause button and stayed on the surface of the sea. Don't dare to move forward, let alone retreat. For fear that a slight movement would lead to the baptism of cannonballs. And in these still images, Hyperion still drove forward unhurriedly. In the eyes of all, the island was landed. I actually landed on it. Incredible voices came out of his mouth. Those die-like Titan mechs were unmoved by this. As Arthur and his party disappeared into the island, a voice rang out. 3 days later, the island was opened, and the trespassers were killed. The faint words rang in everyone's ears as if they had magical power. 3 days later the island opened, that is, this small island has an owner. Damn, who is that man who stepped into the island? I can't see it from this distance. 3 days, just wait another 3 days before you can set foot on that island. Arthur's words immediately got everyone talking. And on the warship at the rear, the yellow ape sat on the deck wet. There are shrapnel made of halostone in many places all over the body. Lieutenant General Polisalino, you have to go back and bandage your wounds quickly. It's a little injury, it's fine. The yellow ape shook his head, pinched a shrapnel, and pulled it off with a force, and blood immediately flowed out from the wound. My cheeks twitched because of the pain. Halostone is really annoying. Pulling out the shrapnel from his body one by one, the yellow ape took a deep breath. After the explosion of the 2 missiles, shrapnel flew all over the sky, and the yellow ape, who had nothing to borrow from the sea, was also helpless at the moment. Only do your best to dodge shrapnel attacks. But he was still hit in many places on his body, and his elementalized body was instantly lifted, and he fell straight into the sea. Immersed in seawater, the whole body is even weaker. If it weren't for the Navy jumping down and saving him, it would have been tragic. At this moment, from the island, Arthur's voice was heard. For this sound, the yellow ape is very familiar. It turned out to be him, the Arthur pirates. How could he be so unlucky? He could meet him anywhere. Now that he knew that Arthur was on the island, the yellow ape had already retreated at this moment. Is such a dangerous existence, he doesn't want to oppose it. I hope the marshal will think well about his subordinates. Despite all kinds of reluctance, the yellow ape still took out the phone bug. Escalation is still a must. And in a manor house in the center of the island. This is Arthur's private mansion, and there is a lot of technology around it, so no one can sneak into it. In one of the rooms of the manor, Arthur stepped into it and stretched. It's really good, it's not the same as when I left. Behind him, a small figure walked in, closing the door with its back to it. Hey, Seal, are you done visiting the rest of the world? Looking at Seal with his head down, Arthur was a little surprised. Yes, Captain, the rest of the city has already been visited, so Seal wants to visit the captain. A muffled voice came out of Seal's mouth, and she slowly raised her head, revealing her red pupils that were obscured by her hair. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 130. Hugh Bryan stopped in the harbor, and some of Arthur's men streamed out of the hatch. Whew, the feeling of being down to earth is really not enough to experience it many times. Arthur said as he slowly moved his body, his gaze sweeping around. The streets of the island are wide and smooth, with Titan mechs patrolling back and forth, and tall buildings standing next to them, uninhabited, but clean as new. AI-chan, you managed it well during the time we were away. Praised the communicator, and AI immediately popped up. He, that's of course, with Ben's lovely conductor, the whole island is cleaned every day. AI patted her chest with a smug expression. There are hundreds of Titan mechs left on the island, and under the command of AI, they are not only responsible for patrolling, but also have the important task of cleaning. Anyway, the robot doesn't need to rest, and it works 24 hours a day to get the whole island into its current appearance. Captain, are we going to live here in the future? Kiana's eyes surveyed her surroundings, then she asked, tilting her head. It's just for a while, and we want to open up the whole continent for trade here. Arthur's return this time is not as simple as resting. Due to Doflamingo's previous publicity, it is believed that many items have gained a certain degree of popularity on the sea. When the time comes, everything will come together on this island. It is set to become the most prosperous city. If you want to do what the captain said, I'm afraid it won't take a lot of time. Rita held her chin in one hand, her eyes shining thoughtfully. It doesn't take long, we just have to get started, and then everything will be on track. Arthur already had a clear plan in mind. With Mei Yi, they roughly circled around the entire island, and the environment was briefly familiarized, and then the group went straight to the manor in the center of the island. In the center of the island, Arthur deliberately kept a peak. And the manor is built on this peak, isolated from the bustling city outside. The manor occupies the entire hill, so each room is spacious. Let's get acquainted with the environment of this manor, and look for your own bedroom. Okay, Captain. Everyone immediately dispersed, and Arthur walked to his room. On the other side, Seal opened the door to a room. The whole room is divided into a small living room, a bedroom, and everything is available. Wouldn't it be a little lonely to live alone in such a big room? Seal had just opened the bedroom door when a voice came to her head. I know that 11ER is the most afraid of being alone. A red aura emerged from Seal's body, condensing an identical individual in front of her. Lily looked at 11ER in front of her, a smile curled up at the corner of her mouth, and she took a step forward, lifting her chin with her index finger. Quick, let go of me, this look. 11ER didn't dare to look directly into the eyes of the inner personality, and tilted her head slightly. Oh, 11ER, you're still so cute, it really makes people want to bully you well. Lee personality leaned into 11ER's ear, and the gentle words came out, making 11ER a little unbearable. Quick, let go. With a push of her hands, Lear stepped back and sat on the bed. Whew. Seeing 11ER's gentle gasping appearance, Lee personality shook his head, stroked the white sheets and said lightly. How many days have we been meeting the captain? But the captain doesn't seem to be very interested in you, Seal. Weak, but you can't get what you want. Lee's voice was very soft, but it made 11ER's body startle. I was reminded of the scenes on the Hyperion. The captain was intimate with everyone, she just watched quietly. Although the captain also cared about her, he always felt that something was missing. Seal wanted more, but didn't dare to get closer. Maybe it's because of what Riffy said, she's too cowardly. Do you think about it? Lee personality jumped slightly, and stood in front of CIER again. The two were so close that they seemed to be able to hear each other's heartbeats. Richmond raised his hand and stroked Cier's face. Want to take your relationship with the captain a step further? I can help you. The red eyes gradually deepened, and there was endless temptation in the voice. No. No, you can't. Seal shook her head. What are you holding on to now? Don't I know what is in your heart? Don't forget, that's you. The soft words came out, and the personality in front of 11ER gradually dissipated, turning into a red aura and entering her body. The slightly closed eyes opened, and the eyes that were as blue as the sea turned crimson at the moment. A smile slowly appeared on Cier's calm face, and she turned to open the door and walked out. In another room, not far from it, Arthur surveyed his surroundings. Yes, the style is what I like. Arthur was very satisfied with everything about the manor. At that moment, a figure walked in from the door open from the back. Gently close the door. Arthur, who heard the movement, turned his head and looked at Seal with his head down. Seal, why are you here? Have you finished touring the entire estate? Looking at Seal in front of him, Arthur was a little surprised. Yes, Captain, the entire manor has been visited, and now the only left to visit. It's you, Captain. The head was lowered, and Arthur, who was red in his eyes, was startled. I hope the captain can make Seal well, carefully, seriously visited. Seal had an inexplicable smile on her face as she pounced on Arthur with her arms outstretched. Seal, can I call you that? Holding the delicate body in his arms, Arthur said lightly. Naturally, Captain, because I'm 11ER. Seal looked up at Arthur, and the inexplicable expression on his face really made Arthur unable to connect with the somewhat weak Seal. The matter that Seal has two personalities, Arthur is naturally clear. Looking at the current situation, the personality is in control of this body. What's the matter, Captain? Doesn't look like you at all. At this time, a fierce ideological struggle fought in the mind. Black Arthur, don't be a man who comes to your door. Arthur White, no, 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 it's the personality that controls this body right now, and if she does something excessive, the real Cier will cry. Black Arthur, what the real 11ER, they were all one person. Arthur White, no. Black Arthur, no, you big-headed ghost, look at the knife. In the end, Black Arthur stepped on White Arthur's corpse with a machete in his hand and laughed in the sky, winning the final victory. Captain, you're really a little dishonest. Seal took Arthur's hands as he explored the edges, her red eyes filled with mist. Do you think you want to eat the pastries that come to your mouth? Whispering softly, it was like an electric current passing through it. At this moment, an unprecedented feeling rose in the bottom of my heart. 11ER, who was immersed in this feeling, suddenly rose into the air. Turning her head to see the white bed getting closer and closer to her, a feeling of fear suddenly rose in her heart. This feeling suddenly appeared for no reason, and Cier's fists clenched tightly. Gently lowered, Arthur looked at the red eyes that were flashing. You're scared. The uneasiness in his gaze, though tried his best to hide, was clearly captured by Arthur. Cier's eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. A smile tugged at the corner of Arthur's mouth, and he slowly pinched the corner of the ribbon. Tear it apart little by little. You can clearly feel Seal's breathing getting heavier. Call. A cool breeze blew, and Seal could feel the unfold in front of her. The uneasiness in his eyes became more and more intense. Do you want to continue? Arthur really didn't expect that this Lee personality would be so bold at first, but when it came to actual combat, he would become cringe. In the face of Arthur's questioning, Seal still did not answer. Maybe I'm too nervous to answer now. Arthur's movements, however, were non-stop, slow. The sensation of an electric current running through her body caused the red in 11ER's pupils to disappear in an instant, and she returned to the blue color of the sea. The two pairs of eyes looked at each other, and the world seemed to be quiet at this moment. "Captain, we're all done." At this moment, the door opened, and Kiana and his party walked in. AHH. In the next second, a cry large enough to pierce the eardrums came from CIER's mouth and resounded over the manor.